everyone, it's Tanny Games here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be going over 5 secret changes of the update. So these are going to be things that haven't been mentioned in the patch notes or the trailers as far as I'm aware, and we are going to be going through them together. I am excited to go over these. Now, some of these are disappointing changes, especially the first one I'm going to talk about. Kind of hoping they're bugs. Oh my god, why did it start raining? Why? It doesn't need to rain in my game. Please don't. But yeah, so these aren't going to cover things like selling back to Scrooge or using the photo mode to gather the villagers, because that was all in the patch notes and stuff. So I'm not going to kind of touch on those. So these are changes that you probably might not be aware of or might not have realized. And the first one is actually going to do with the dragons here. Now, I have the lovely community companion dragon here. Very, very cute. However, when I went into this pose yesterday, I realized something was wrong with the dragon. And it took me a minute to put my finger on it because I was like, hold on a second, something's weird with its expression. Why does it look so angry? And I actually realized that the dragon doesn't stick his tongue out anymore. So before in photo mode, the dragon would stick his tongue out. I will try and insert a picture for you all, just showcasing the tongue that would stick out from photos I took before, just to show that that is what used to happen in photo mode. But now the dragon no longer has a tongue, which is very, very weird. Okay, right. Oh my god, I've just realized this dragon doesn't even have... The mouth isn't open. Or maybe it was. Okay, it has happened to all the dragons. I'm going to switch to another dragon here, and you'll see that this one doesn't have the tongue either. But when they open their mouth and then blow the fire out, the tongue is in there. So they still have an animated tongue on them, but for some reason they just don't stick it out anymore. So I don't know if this is a bug. I don't know if it's a change. But to me, it's a big deal because I actually used to love the dragon pose. I mean, I do think the bee pose is now the best pose out of all the poses. But the dragon pose was definitely a favorite. And I feel like the dragons just kind of have lost their character by not having the tongue out. I likened it in the stream yesterday to Lucky, and how Lucky often has his little tongue out and wagging and stuff. But the dragon doesn't do it anymore. He now just looks so serious. He looks upset. He looks disappointed. I'm not happy. I'm not happy about it at all, and I don't understand why they've done this. It's just so weird. It is so weird. And do you know what? This is weird. Why is the dragon's mouth not like properly designed? I am wondering if it is a bug, because tell me this doesn't look a bit weird. It's like its jaw is closed, but it definitely isn't. It extends. It doesn't have an inside mouth. They haven't done a mouth for this dragon. It's okay. It's so weird. Anyway, I could spend half an hour ranting about the dragon thing because it's something I don't like. It's something I don't like. But we won't dwell too much on it. However, it is an annoying change for me. Let me know how you feel about the dragon change in the comments down below, and how you feel about this weird pink dragon that for some reason doesn't have a mouth that properly opens. It is incredibly bizarre. Incredibly bizarre. I'm waiting for it to do it again. Look, that's it. It's so weird. There's nothing there. There's no opening. He does not have... Oh well. But yeah, that is the first of changes. Now, the next change you actually might have noticed, and it is the fast travel menu. It seems to have been extended wider. I don't know. It's just a bit weird. I noticed it was different. I went back through one of my previous streams to find a screenshot of me fast traveling. So there is a difference. I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know how I feel about the change. Do you know what? It's just maybe a bit uncanny valley for me. Kind of seeing it extended in this way compared to what it used to be. It's definitely a bit bizarre. So yeah, I think it's just a change I have to get used to. I don't know. I'm assuming this is them trying to change it for like the realms and stuff like that, because obviously we're going to get way more realms, more DLCs, more things like that, possibly more floating islands and the like in the future. So I have a feeling it's all prep work for that, so it just feels a bit more consistent in the long run. But yeah, it was a change I noticed, and it was a little bit odd. Now, the next addition that I have noticed is actually to come under this underbrush category. Now, this only applies if you have the Wish Blossom Ranch DLC. Now, they did explain that they were fixing the graphics for the trees and stuff like that for these clusters. They said they were fixing that. So that has all been fixed. I think that's very good. I like that they have changed that and everything like that. You know, we can place these now and stuff like that, and they all have the correct symbols. However, I did notice, we noticed it on stream, there was this new plant. And I'm just noticing something else. So we will get into that in a second. Okay, by chance. Okay, but yeah, we did notice this pinwheel plant on stream. I thought it was really, really cute. I like it. It definitely feels very, very whimsical. It does appear to be the only new foliage that I feel like I've noticed. I'm pretty sure all of these were here before. So I don't think any of this has changed. It was only this pinwheel plant that I saw that I thought was different. I think all the rest is as is. But yeah, I thought it was cute that we got this little plant. It's quite fun. I don't even remember seeing this in Pixie Acres, if I'm honest. But it is quite a cute plant. I think it's very fun, very whimsical. So if you have the Wish Blossom Ranch DLC, you do have this new plant. I am going to explain as well. They did mention about how some people were gaining foliage before they should have. There are players who didn't have the Wish Blossom Ranch DLC and had access to those to certain foliage items. They no longer have access to those foliage items anymore. So yeah, they did do that, but that was all in the patch notes. But I don't recall them mentioning anything about this flower in the patch notes. So that was very exciting. I am noticing with this plant, it drops water now. I don't think it dropped water before, did it? I don't know. Let me know if this is an additional change, because I feel like I don't remember seeing it animated, but maybe I just didn't pay enough attention. Maybe I didn't pay enough attention to it. But yeah, it looks like it gets water droplets and they drop, which is quite cool. And there is a sound effect there. I don't know if you picked up on it because of my talking, but yeah, I heard a little splosh then. So yeah, I guess that's an additional change for you all. Now, the next change I have to give thanks to Oscar for. It was only because I was in his stream yesterday that I actually saw this. But there are some additional features in camera mode. So I'm not going to go over the gathering of the villagers. I might do a separate video on this. But he actually pointed out that there's these new sliders. So there is this like color temperature one, which is pretty cool actually. I think there might be promise with this. I think there might be promise depending on the challenge. I think it's going to be a very situational thing. And like I said, I don't think you're going to want to tilt it too much. But this kind of like color temperature, maybe adding in a bit more blue tone, a bit more of a frostier vibe. Or if you wanted to add a little bit more warmth to a photo, I think it's going to be good. I do think that is going to be good. So there is this color temperature change. As I said, I don't think anyone's going to want to go to these extremes. I mean, it might be that depending on like certain filters, maybe things like this color temperature thing would be more beneficial. But I don't, yeah, because this does have an impact on that filter. But yeah, so there is this color change like in temperature and stuff like that. I'm gonna try and reset all this, sorry. And then we also have this color tint, which again just adds a bit of a color tint to it. So we go into kind of like a pinky red to purpley kind of tone. You can go to like a green tone, which I actually think the slight green tone might be good in Halloween snaps. I don't think you'd want to extreme it, but I definitely think it might work. Oh look, if you go onto this, it completely resets this color tint. Like, they kind of don't work in conjunction, which I didn't think they would, but yeah, it's just, again, it's one of those things. It's a bit like the aperture and focus. They only work like at 1% or whatever it is, and then don't. But yeah, we do have these color tints, so they might be fun for things like Halloween-y snaps and stuff, or if you just like to take creative photos in game. I think these are fun additions. They're not perfect. They could definitely take a page or two out of the Nikki book for improvements. But it is pretty cool. I think it's fairly fun. Now, the next change I actually think is a fantastic change, and that is this new refresh duties option. Now, you do have to do a bunch of Dreamlight duties before you can build up these refresh. So it basically says you can re-roll duties. Re-rolling costs 1 re-roll token. Complete and collect from a duty to gain a re-roll token. So you do have to have done, I managed to get these from doing the star path the other day. But basically this is kind of good because I don't know if you guys are aware, but for instance, if you feed all your critters in your valley and then you get a task come up like feed a sunbird or something like that, you then can't do it because you've already fed that critter. It is such a bizarre system that when you're doing, for instance, the star path, if there's a duty in the star path, which is like feed a raccoon 5 times, you can do that consistently and it counts. But when it comes to this section, it doesn't. And it is so weird that it doesn't count, that you can't refeed a critter. So what a lot of people were doing or finding when they were grinding Dreamlight duties is they could get to a point where basically this Dreamlight duty section would fill up and it would have like feed a sunbird, feed a fox, feed a croc, feed a critter, feed a raven, feed a squirrel or something like that, and then they'd be stuck. They'd be locked out of doing Dreamlight duties because it's something they couldn't complete because of how the system works in Dreamlight duties, which is, as I said, very bizarre because it works for Star Path, but it doesn't work for Dreamlight duties, and it makes no sense. But it is really good to have this because then if there's a task that perhaps you don't like or you can't complete, or as I said, for those that used to love grinding Dreamlight duties to build up their Dreamlight and things like that, you can just hit reroll and it will change to something else. And you'll see here, this then did get updated. We're down to only 2 rerolls. However, if we do more duties, we should be able to gain that back. I was trying to find some night fawns, but I realized I cleared most of them up. So I've done that duty now, and you'll see the reroll went back up to 3. So you just have to do duties and then it can stock up and stuff like that. But yeah, this was a fun little change that they did, and I think it's a really, really good one. Now, you'll also see here, I can't re-roll this. So there are still kind of some limitations. You don't want to spam use this, but it does help if you end up, like I said, in a block where you suddenly can't do like the task because they're like the feeding the critters and you've already done that for the day and stuff like that. So I do think this is a very, very beneficial change. And I'm glad that they added it, even though they didn't mention anything about this in the patch notes, as far as I'm aware. Now, my last bonus little addition, again, shout out to Oscar for this. He actually mentioned this in a DM. However, if you come down into the furniture crafting, if you have Wish Blossom Ranch, there was an item you could craft, which was the red phone booth. And if you recall, the original icon for the red phone booth was stunning. It was very much that old classic traditional red phone booth. However, when you crafted it, what you got was this square thing, which is obviously not as cutesy. It's not as cute. It's not as nice. So yeah, alas, unfortunately, it does seem like that old vintage style of red phone booth is not coming to the game, and they have updated the graphics now to show this square blocky one as the correct image. So very, very gutted, because I would have loved that old classic kind of style phone booth. I don't think this is anywhere near as cute looking as a decor piece, so it is disappointing, but perhaps there was reasons they couldn't include this as the classic old style of phone booth. Perhaps there were limitations in that regard, I don't know. But yeah, a bit of a shame, but it is a change that they have added. And that's going to do it from me and my no longer derpy looking dragon. They were the secret changes that I saw. If there are any additional secret changes that you noticed, please let me know in the comments. I love sharing this information with the community when there is enough to share. I think it's fun to know. I think it's fun to know. And yeah, obviously, if there is other things you've noticed that, as I said, weren't in the patch notes, weren't showcased in the trailers, then I would absolutely love to find out. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like. Feel free to subscribe for more Disney Dreamlight Valley content. And I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye, guys! I want to say a huge thanks to our super top members, Angry Shroom, Spread Lake, and Caroline Rose. Thank you so much for going above and beyond for support on this channel. I really do appreciate it. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.